All right. So I had a night to sleep on this game and, kind of formulate an opinion. Obviously, when the game first happens, we all have opinions very quickly, right? And we all get mad and scream and yell. And see my videos yesterday, very clearly I was upset. So after a night of sleeping on this game, I want to start off with our biggest issues from this game. And it's been an issue now for a couple seasons. And I think, again, I'm going to say this again, it is a problem with the higher-ups. It's a problem with the coaching staff, with the GM, with Katie Blackburn, with Mike Brown, with all higher than just the players. But it is also player fault as well, and it's consistency. And, we knew going into this game, and it's kind of weird to say this out loud, but honestly, if we were all betting, we could probably made $1 bazillion. Because whenever the Bengals have one side of the ball is working, right, and is doing their job, which, again, keep in mind, in this game, we gave up 20 points on defense. 20 points. Now, obviously, on a defense, you don't want to give up 20 points. But, realistically speaking, if we went into any other game this season, right, with Joe Flacco, that is, not with Jake Browning, and I told you, hey, we gave up 20 points in a game. I think every single person watching this video right now would sit here and say, oh, the Bengals killed them. The Bengals destroyed them. There was 0% chance. Our offense gave them 14 points for free. A pick six, which completely, and listen, sometimes, I'm getting better at this, by the way, but sometimes I'll say, like, oh, the offense gave them a pick six, but reality, it was just a good defensive play, right, from the defense, right? So it wasn't technically we gave them anything. It was just a good play by the defense. This was not a good play by the defense. T. Higgins was wide open across the middle, and Joe Flacco just threw it straight to the defender. He just threw it straight booty butthole naked to the defender for a pick six. Jamar Chase almost had a tackle on the defender at the 1 yard line, but he kind of made a business decision and didn't do it. And then the fumble for six, very, very close, by the way. Very close. It ended up being that Noah Fant, just as he goes to the ground, just can't hold on to the football. And he did the same thing against the Vikings, which was a fumble for six. So both of those touchdowns, I don't give it to the Steelers. I give it to our team who scored for them. Our offense scored as many points as our defense did. Almost as many points. Scored 14, defense allowed 20. It's consistency. And that's really, again, I'll say it a bazillion times, that's the biggest issue in these games. It's just we can never play honest football on both sides of the ball. And if you can't do that in the NFL, you're not going to win. You have to play both sides very consistently. You have to complement each other. It's called complementary football. Your offense gets a good drive going. Defense gets power. Defense gets pumped up. Especially if the offense gives a good long drive. The defense should be rested. The defense should be ready. The defense should be ready to go out there and play. And it's just, that's not the case this year. And it's been a problem now for a couple years. And this is why I say it's more of a coaching problem than it is particularly just a player problem. Is it doesn't seem to get fixed because it seems like the defense, after maybe like week two or three, they're defeated completely. And then they have like random shines of like hope and life in them throughout the season. And whenever that happens, the offense just can't get it done. So it's honestly, again, like I said, I've said this many times, this is going to be a 5-year rebuild when it comes to repairing this team because there needs to be a lot of changes. There really does. And it's, again, a fundamental level at this point more than just as much of a player issue because it is a player issue as well. I'm still, even after the night sleeping on this, I am still scared that we're going to keep Zach Taylor. We're going to keep Duke Tobin after this year. We're going to go into this offseason and they're going to try to sell us the magic beans that, Jack and the Beanstalk went up the hill and whatever. Okay, first off. That saying was Jack and Jill went up the hill to find a little something, right? Never mind. Well, before I get canceled, Jill was a whore. Anyway, what is it? Jack and Jill went up the hill to find a little something. Jack and Jill got a little fancy, and then Jill, I don't know. Listen, that's not the point of this. It just randomly popped in my head, okay? I have ADHD, I apologize. But they're going to try to sell us this magic bean that, hey, it's all going to work out. All we have to do is get new defensive players. And all we have to do is get this guy or that guy, right? And the problem with the offseason, and this is always an issue, by the way. It's not just an issue for us. The offseason is not supposed to be you go out there in free agency and you completely rebuild your team in one offseason. Can you do it? Yes. But we saw it a couple years ago with the Patriots. They did this with free agency. They spent $70 million in free agency. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. And they sucked. They absolutely sucked that next year. Because that's not really what free agency is meant for. Free agency is meant to add 1 or 2 pieces on your defense or your offense that you feel confident moving forward that they're going to be, the best options for you. Like, that's kind of what, that's what free agency is for. And they're going to try to sell us up and down the road that, hey, this is going to work. We promise this is going to work. Like, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a long rebuild, and I'm realizing that more and more as we go along. But hey, that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of it. So, one day at a time, one step at a time. Sorry for that quick cut. One step at a time, one day at a time. One step closer to Lou Anarumo being our head coach and Marvin Lewis being our GM. I don't know why. I'm now convinced that that's going to happen. GM Marvin Lewis, head coach Lou Anarumo, and we're just gonna, or here's another factor. The Bengals decide to go back and get Brian Callahan as their head coach, right? And then they come back with Marvin Lewis as their GM. Or maybe Bill Callahan as the GM. Who knows? But even yesterday, and this is the last thing I'll leave off on. 3 receptions for 30 yards for Jamar Chase. The Steelers' defense or their secondary is not that good. They're not that good. And the fact that Chase couldn't do more than 3 receptions for 30 yards is very, very bad. It just goes to show how dysfunctional it is, If Chase and T are not going off, and T had a great game, but if they're not going off, we're pretty much shut down. If there's no T or Chase going off, nobody else is going to go off. Yoshi is pointless, which, again, Mitchell Tinsley Jr. would love to see him play sometime. Maybe sometime this year would be nice. But outside of that, running the ball, too. We ran the ball 18 times, but it felt like majority of the times we did run the ball, it really wasn't, anything. And then we had a couple burst away runs. Like this right here, 99 yards. There was one 35-yard run, which really adds to this final number. Before the 35-yard run, that would be 64 rushing yards, which if we do the math on that one, because we had 5.5 yards per carry. But if we did the math correctly on the 65, let's say he didn't get the crazy big run, then that would have been 3.8 yards per carry, which is still good. But again, I don't know why I'm hopping on this bandwagon for Chase Brown. But listen, Chase Brown played great. My point is, though, there was spurts. We had big play spurts, 28-yard catch for T. Higgins, It is what it is. Shout out to the Steelers. They won. They beat us. Mason Rudolph had 127 yards. Aaron Rodgers had 116. Jaylen Warren got hurt, but he has 6.2 yards per carry before that. Again, he had a 35-yard run as well. You know what? The Jaylen Warren one is so much better. So, for example, Jaylen Warren, because this is actually a good example, better than the Chase Brown one. So, if you take away Jaylen Warren's one big run, right, which was a 35-yard run, he had 27 rushing yards on 9 carries. That's exactly 3 yards per carry, and that is not good. That's not good. 6.2 yards per carry looks amazing in the stat sheet, but reality, he just had one big run, which gives him that, number in the end, right? So, it is what it is. Tell me down below your thoughts, opinions. See you guys next one.